Listen!
Welcome to Nintendo Voice Chat episode 376. As always, a wonderful show and a wonderful panel, and I'll tell you what the topics are for today. We're going to talk about the new indie royalty. We've got three really big indie games coming to the Nintendo Switch, and that's Stardew Valley, Axiom Verge, and Oxenfree, and we'll be talking about that. And we will have a special guest on the show today. It's actually none other than Jirard Khalil. Jirard, who the hell are you?
Hi. Hey everyone, my name is Jirard Khalil.
Hello.
That's me, yeah. I'm on YouTube as That One Video Gamer for my show, The Completionist, and every week it's man versus game. I've got 7 days to fully complete a game, and I've been doing it for about 6 years. It's been a lot of fun.
I really only know you as The Completionist. There's another Completionist on YouTube as well, right? But you're That One Gamer.
Yes, I'm That One Video Gamer, yeah.
That One Video Gamer.
Yeah,
Okay.
the idea was that anyone could be a completionist, and so I didn't think that like having the completionist name was that important, and just kind of like, you know, anyone can be a musician or an artist or a video gamer. So that was kind of the idea of That One Video Gamer, kind of like synonymous by association. So
You'll always be That One Completionist to us.
exactly.
So we'll talk a little bit more about you and your role in Nintendo fandom and YouTube. I think a lot of our viewers, especially on YouTube, have questions about, you know, what does it take to become a YouTuber and how can you survive as a Nintendo YouTuber in particular. So we'll have that topic later. But there's actually there are some other people on the panel today. I see over there, is that Zachary Ryan?
It's true, it's me,
Yes.
Zach Ryan. Here I am. Guys, check it out. Look, after all that shaming last week, I have golden Joy-Con now.
Wow.
It's beautiful. Thank
You know what? It looks a little gaudy. I was thinking of going to gray.
Gaudy.
Like I was going to go back to gray. Bye, Zach. And then on my right, I have the wonderful, the only Damon Hatfield.
Scoop.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on the show,
Did you have to cancel? So I tried to get Damon on last week, and then last minute we had to swap him out because I totally forgot that we had somebody else on.
It's nice of you to have me on. I did have to cancel. I'm supposed to be doing record a VO for the Saw story in 5 minutes.
Okay.
So I've put that on hold.
I think we're going to be okay.
We'll see.
I think we're going to be
Pretty
all right.
complicated.
It
complex
is very
story,
complicated,
right?
yeah.
Okay, very good. Let's jump right into our coverage this week. One big topic is
It's here. Sort of.
Super NES Classic. Obviously, we talked a little bit about it last week. Thank you to Noel who helped me get mine because it was nigh impossible still to find. You've got a little story to tell about how hard it is for people pre-ordering on Amazon.
Yeah,
today,
so
right?
we actually covered this. We actually covered this week on IGN. Jonathan Dornbush sort of called it to our attention, wrote it up.
Yep.
But I believe it was August 22nd. Damon and I, you were there too. We were at Gamescom when the pre-order link went live for Amazon. And we were in the fortunate position that it went live in the middle of the afternoon or maybe in the morning, I guess, when we were in Germany. So we were awake and saw the notifications go up. And so the majority of us got our orders in on Amazon like right away. Like I know within the first 10 minutes that link was up, I had an order in. Those pre-orders have yet to be filled. A lot of them, most of them, in fact. I know Best Buy completed their orders on day and date, but Amazon pre-orders are still missing. And the real bummer of the whole situation is that a lot of the people that are waiting until an undisclosed date, supposedly it's October 11th now for their SNES Classics, were really upset because the Amazon Treasure Trucks, which is this promotional vehicle that Amazon has, they roll them out to different cities and they sell one item each day. We're selling stock of the SNES Classic on launch day.
Yeah.
So for somebody like me, who has been waiting for the announcement and has did all the steps, like pre-ordered at the right time, got a confirmation on my pre-order, to see them sell it off the back of a truck was like,
Literally.
well, wait a minute, that's mine. Like
Literally the day of.
Yeah, that's my pre-order that you just sold that guy. Like, why don't I have that and this guy does? And so there were some inquiries into Amazon. I personally was on the phone to customer service, like 3 levels of customer service last weekend at Amazon, trying to figure out just what the justification is there, if there was any sort of reimbursement. I did get a lot of apologies for my inconvenience, which was nice.
Did they give you a $5 credit?
They gave me a month of Amazon Prime, and it's like, yo, I've been an Amazon Prime member for 3 years. I want my Super Nintendo. Like, what are you talking about? So it's a really interesting and sort of crummy story that's happening right now because there's a lot of people that that they're just out $80 and maybe they'll get their system soon.
This is not an isolated incident with Amazon too. There's something very wrong with Amazon and Nintendo products specifically. Yeah. My Switch and Zelda arrived days late.
Yep.
Even though I pre-ordered, my copy of Mario Kart 8 was days late, and now this is happening again. There's something really weird going on.
Yeah.
Some weird supply channel issue. But some of our fans have reached out on this particular issue as well. So thank you for speaking out. One of our listeners actually reached out to Amazon, and somebody told him that they took 20,000 more pre-orders than they were supposed to. Again, it's an unverified number. We don't know if that's really the case, but there was this weird duality of one like sign-up page that didn't look 100% done versus the final pre-order page. So, maybe Amazon had a glitch in the system where they made something live, or a page was found before it was ready. Yeah. And unfortunately, some people are paying the price for it.
They repeatedly told me sort of basically they're like, we hope to get you your Switch by October 11th, or we expect to get your NES Classic by October 11th. NES. But never like we will do that. Yeah. So it's still
probably don't know.
And then the more I talk about it, the more I hear people saying that they're also getting theirs on October 11th. So it seems like if that's all happening in one lump sum, maybe they expect a second shipment, or maybe that's just a date that they've been told to tell people.
I just think they don't know. I don't think Nintendo has firm data for retailers, especially with hot items like that.
Yeah.
And so they say, hey, we'll let you know when we know. Did you get one?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered 2 on Best Buy, and I walked into a Best Buy and got one, which is interesting because I don't know.
You have 3?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of them. I'm not hoarding them. I gave them away. I gave one to my girlfriend and one to one of my other friends who works with me. But did you guys go out the day that it came out to any retailers and look?
Not first thing in the morning, but in the afternoon I went to a Target and Best Buy, and both were sold out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I called 2 Targets and a Best Buy throughout the course of the day to try and track one down here in the city, and no dice. Yeah. And it sort of speaks to how awesome our community is, because you got yours from an NVC fan.
Yeah.
They hooked you up. Teddy. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Teddy, who actually helped me get my NES Classic, also saw me tweeting about my problems with Amazon and reached out to me and was like, hey, I have extra stock. Do you want to buy one from me at cost? So like, super cool of him, super cool of our community to help us out in that way.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And now I'm playing Super Mario World because of it, so that's
we
great.
don't deserve it. But if you're still waiting for your pre-order, don't give up yet. We're all hoping that this does clear up. And if you're walking into stores right now, you are seeing Switches. So hopefully there's
it's not one thing, it's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, wait for the wedding amiibo now. That's
oh my goodness.
But more positive news, Darkest Dungeon got announced out of nowhere for the Nintendo Switch. It's a game I haven't played, but you apparently love.
Yep.
Why do you love it?
Awesome. So first of all, it's got an incredible art style to it, and the audio. It's a very it's one of those games you can look at it at a glance, you instantly know it's that game. You're not going to confuse this game with anything else. But it's a roguelike dungeon crawler known for its difficulty, where the odds are always against you, but you got to keep going. You got to try to make it eventually to the darkest dungeon.
And it is dark, right? It's a dark game kind of storyline, and
that's actually a game mechanic. You have a torch burning the whole time that you're in the dungeon. It's a turn-based game, and every turn your torch is burning down, and you have to decide how many torches you're going to take with you on your journey. But they all cost money, so it's a risk-reward mechanic there. It's awesome.
I also love the way that they revealed it for the Switch. I thought it was really cool. They posted a video on their Twitter, just a video of the game playing, and then they slowly pulled out and revealed that the game was being played on a Switch. Yeah, it was super cool.
That should be a meme from now on. That's a great way to reveal a game.
Anytime they want to announce a game, it's like, oh, here it comes.
Show it. Everybody goes, oh, crummy off-screen footage, and then
Yeah.
And then they'll have golden Joy-Con and sparkle. And
it should be noted, this is a very difficult game. You build up your party over time, and your characters, if they survive, they're going to be stronger. But if they die, anyone who dies from your party there's permadeath.
Oh,
so
what do you think?
You could develop a favorite, fighter, but then if they die, it feels like a blow. It feels like a loss.
You think you could finish it in a week?
It's like XCOM.
Probably not.
No? Well, there's 2 modes. There's the main mode, and then there's Radiant mode, which is supposed to be shorter.
Okay.
Which I think you could complete Radiant mode in a week for sure.
Nice.
What is the aspect of Radiant mode different from normal?
It's just you don't have to go through as many quests and as many runs through dungeons to make it to the final dungeon, basically. it's meant to be a shorter experience because the actual game is really, really long.
And this is the game that has the like long-term status effects,
Yes,
right? Like
it has like
psychosis, and like
insanity,
depression.
Yeah.
Oh, well, so your characters get depressed while you're going.
Sure.
Oh my goodness.
They might.
It's dark.
Have you seen it? Wouldn't you get depressed? Look at this guy.
Yeah, they might develop a sense. They might develop a sense of hopelessness and refuse to fight anymore. They might always try to run from battle. They might turn on your other party members because they become paranoid.
Whoa,
that's
that's
really
crazy.
neat.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. So no date for this one yet, right?
Not yet.
But given that it was running on the machine, hopefully that we're not going to have to wait too long.
Yeah.
Also, Tangle Deep got announced. It's a 16-bit style roguelike RPG. You'll hear that term obviously a lot now, roguelike, especially
I'm into it.
when it comes to indie games. You love those, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So think of kind of classic 16-bit RPGs, overhead view, but with a fog of war as you're walking around. So another interesting game. But Mutant Mudds Collection. That one came out of nowhere.
Platform to play Mutant Mudds.
Well, I've
on.
actually never played them, so
Really?
I'm excited to play them
Mutant
on
Mudds
Switch.
is great. Yeah.
So Jules, who actually has been on the show, the developer behind this, I think he struggled a bit with Chicken Wiggle. He recently released that on the 3DS. Really good, great, like really cool platformer with
Arrived a little too late on that platform, I think.
And I think he's been really bummed out about how buried that game is on that platform. So he looked at Mutant Mudds. So he's bringing back. It's a triple pack, right? Of the two original games, but then also a new puzzle game that we haven't seen before in the collection. You played those games?
I played the first one a while ago. I'm subscribed to IndieBox, and so they sent me. Mutant Mudds was one of the games that came in the cool box. So I have a really cool, interesting collector's edition that is very limited. But yeah, it's a very fun game.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
It's brutally hard though. You have to make some pixel perfect jumps in some cases on that one. So that trailer just went out. So look it up if you want to see Mutant Mudds. We covered the original game before on NVC as well, and obviously had our chat with Jules. So if you Google Jules Watch'em NVC, you'll be able to watch that as well. But of course, the biggest news of the week, is the next Splatfest. Zach is shaking his head. You guys know I love Splatoon. The next Splatfest is mostly notable due to the theme of it being about pooping, which is awesome. That's why it's on the show.
That's awesome.
It's toilet paper. It's like what is the correct way to hang toilet paper?
The front or back?
Front.
I mean, obviously
or behind.
Front.
Yeah.
So
not even a question.
Are there any behinders here?
No.
I think
That's
front.
bizarre.
So guys, I will flip the toilet paper roll if it's behind.
Yeah.
In my house or any place I go to. Like if I'm at your house and it's behind,
You don't
I
have to
will
worry
flip
about
the
that.
roll.
That's a non-issue. My house is always front.
Are you a front loader?
It's a front household.
Gerard isn't sure if he's front or
I'm
back.
definitely front.
You're definitely front. Okay.
Absolutely.
Who is behind?
I know.
So-
it seems like a pretty
Australia, probably Australia.
So
That's it. Probably right.
it goes the other way.
Yeah, it goes the-
So some people say people who own cats
Well,
do the behind thing.
I'm a cat owner and I'm front all the way.
because they go right.
Yeah, my
I
cat
feel
doesn't.
like a cat would be able to get to it like
either
whatever
way.
I feel like either way it doesn't matter. They're gonna smack it down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's I love these themes. I mean,
This is a particularly weird one.
Japan's getting sponsored stuff like McDonald's-based stuff, and we're getting pooping.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah.
I'm glad that this Splatfest is coming up this weekend. I have admittedly dropped off Splatoon pretty hard.
Yep.
When Splatoon 2 launched, I was just playing the hell out of it for
Well,
weeks.
this is what's going to
And
get you
so
back
I
in.
think so. Yeah. I mean, what am I going to do? Let these animals that backload
Animals.
win? Like, no way.
Here's the word of warning, though. If everybody picks front, you're going to have a hell of a time getting matches.
Yeah.
And then you'll just be
Well, that
matched up
speaks-
against your own team.
That speaks to
Right.
sort of a bigger issue, right? Because like I feel this is the third Splatfest in a row that's just geared towards having uneven teams. I mean, I thought ketchup and mayo would be a little bit closer, but the ketchup team was much larger than the mayo team. We still
terribly.
won, but so
All right. Well, hopefully there's some kids who don't know and they'll pick team behind.
They should do cats.
not
and
your
dogs.
kids.
Yeah.
They should do cats and dogs.
I think they did cats
do
and
they already
dogs
do that?
in the first
Yeah.
in the first sessions of
Too
Splatfest.
obvious, I guess.
So anybody watching this,
versus Doritos.
leave a comment if you are a team behind, because we want to meet you people. We want to set you right. I still hope. Actual big news though, Stardew Valley is out. So when you're watching this, Stardew Valley out on October 5th.
Yep.
For the low fee of just $15. Stardew Valley, if you haven't played it before, it was one of our Game of the Year nominees actually in 2016 when it was on PC. Who has played it? Who loves it?
I have
You guys
played it and
all
loved it.
played it?
Yeah. The thing about Stardew Valley, it's just systems stacked on top of systems.
Yep.
It's a really interesting game in the fact that it looks like a 16-bit RPG. Obviously, there's like a huge Harvest Moon influence.
Yep.
But then you can also like do dungeon crawling. There's resource management. There's an insane dating sim built in there. And I admittedly didn't get super far. I probably played 8 hours of Stardew Valley, which is barely scratching the surface according to some purists. But what happened, I was playing on PlayStation 4, and when I was playing, in the midst of my playing, they announced that it was coming to Switch, and so I was like, well, this is a perfect game to play on Switch because it's the kind of game that you can play for hours at a time, but you can also check in once a day, see what your farm's doing, reset your cycle, and then not look at it again for 24 hours.
Yeah.
So for me, this is such an ideal way to play through that whole game, so I'm really looking forward to getting it out on my Switch.
So the basic gist is it's an RPG, but with kind of the heavy Harvest Moon kind of farming and map customization options, right?
Yeah. I actually haven't played it yet, although I'm pretty certain I'll like it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, so it's great to play it on Switch. But this game is also notable because, like another game we're going to talk about on this show, I think this is completely developed by one dude. Yeah, impressive.
That's crazy. Yeah, and my daughter played this for months.
Yeah.
On the PS4, it was always just running whenever she was home, and she would restart, start a new map because the infinite possibilities with kind of the routes you take and what it looks like. Can you finish it in a week?
Can you finish the game? Period.
That's the thing is that I'm one of the people out there that's not really into these types of games, but I think Stardew Valley was.
Hey, it was really cool to have you on.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Got the mic.
Just boom, there you go. That's the thing though, is that these types of games are not for me.
Yep.
But Stardew Valley was a game that I actually fell in love with and put a lot of time into, and I think it was because it was a combination of the art style and like the different layers upon layers. Like the dating sim thing was a really cool thing that I wasn't expecting. I just thought I was going to be, planting things all day, and it just kept expanding and expanding. And
well, it's also like the writing is surprisingly real and very charming.
Yes,
like it's very clever. A lot of the characters, they really endear themselves to you very quickly in this town.
You really find a personal connection with almost every.
A lot of the people in the game. When this game first came out, I'm on the features team here at IGN, and friends of the show, Justin and Chloe, were playing. Also, Justin Davis, him. And
Familiar.
Each day they sit right across from me, and each day they would come in and be like, "Oh, did you go out on a date with Paula? Is she gonna marry you?" Like, it was so funny, man. Like, I wasn't playing it at all at the time, and I was like, "What the hell are they talking about?"
That's so good. Do you think there'll be 16-bit fatigue on the Switch? I mean, we're seeing a lot of games, admittedly good ones, right? Golf Story just hit. That was a really enjoyable game. Do you think people are getting tired of seeing that art style?
I think there's a certain segment of the gaming population that is already tired of that.
Yep.
Have been for a while. You'll see it on IGN in the comments whenever we report on some retro-looking pixel game.
Yep.
You'll see people that, this is just indie trash. They're very dismissive of that kind of style. I don't get tired of it, but then again, I grew up with that, so
Exactly.
it's like instant. It's like instant feel-good, feelings for me.
Yeah. It's a lot like in the same way, like looking at a game like Stardew Valley or Golf Story, or even a game like Hyper Light Drifter. That's very reminiscent of
good.
very reminiscent of the games I grew up with, but looks markedly better. Just gets me excited every time. You know what I mean? Like it's a very retro futuristic look that I will always love. So
it's weird. It's from a very specific time period, but it feels very timeless in that it.
Yeah.
Pixel art still looks good today, whereas like the early 3D games don't. Early PlayStation and N64 games.
I mean,
it's kind of ugly.
It sounds silly to say, but like I've been playing through Super Mario World since I got my SNES Classic, and
Isn't it good?
I mean, first of all,
So good.
It's amazing. I'm still terrible at it, but like I love it, and I'm just because to play that game in pixel perfect mode on like an HD TV and sitting 4 feet away from it, like the little things that I love about the 16-bit art style, like the way that Mario looks, like tilts his head up when he looks up, or the way that when you jump, his hat blows back, and like it's just. There's something very endearing about that art style to me that maybe a younger generation doesn't connect with, but I'll always look at a 16-bit art style and give 2 thumbs up,
I feel like Super Mario World also is this game that just kind of feels right. If you go back and one of the arcade classics is already out, right? From Hamster.
Yeah, you've been playing it, right?
Yeah, Mario Brothers, the classic one. And you'll notice how slippery they feel, right? When you run Mario and Luigi around this kind of single screen game, they keep on like whenever you stop, it's like they skid a lot, you know. Mario games always have that little skid towards the end, but this one especially, like Super Mario World, just perfected that.
Yeah.
And made it feel right. And I feel like some of these games that are coming out now with the retro style designs have very, very modern game systems or modern control mechanisms, right? So like there's some people who are saying no right off the bat just based on what they look like, and they're not diving in and actually seeing all the cool stuff. Like Golf Story's golf mechanics are really good.
Yeah.
Like if you go back to the early days of 16-bit games or 8-bit games and you play a golf game, they did not play like this. They weren't as good.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. There's another game. So speaking of art styles, there's a game that just came out. It's called Earth Atlantis. Not 16-bit art style, but very, very unique. I mean, I think you can best describe it as looking like old maps, like kind of like this brown map look. The developer himself said it's inspired by 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the Jules Verne novel, and like kind of 14th century charts where when you venture out into the ocean, there'll be monsters there, right? It's got this kind of like almost weathered paper look to it.
Yeah, like those old maps that would actually have a sea monster drawn.
That's right.
in the middle of the
Don't go
ocean.
this way, because the Earth is flat, as we all know from our favorite rap stars. And you don't want to venture down where the sea snakes are,
Sure.
right? Yeah, but that's actually the whole point of this game.
But there's also like a monster hunting element to it. Is that right?
So it's got it's got a little Metroidvania aspect. It's more like an R-type game where you can kind of go anywhere, and then portions of your map are home to these big bosses. And so you want to get to these bosses and you want to take them out.
The Statue of
But-
Liberty's underwater.
Yeah,
Cool.
I have bad news. Spoilers.
They were on Earth all along.
That's right. No.
Hurts in the title. No.
But I thought if you read up on the development of this game, I thought it was interesting that the developer set out to make something that felt more like a classic, like an R-type, like that you're not using the second stick to shoot into any direction. You actually have to manually turn your sub around, so you have a button to turn the sub. So you can go backwards through the whole level.
Sure.
And as you pick up, R-type style, again, you pick up power-ups, your shots change, and you get torpedoes or like a lightning beam or homing missiles, that kind of stuff. And you can choose which ones to pick up. So once you have one, you drop the other one, and it just kind of floats around as a bubble. And then you can power them up. And as you take out the bosses, you open up paths to new ones. So pretty cool game so far. Yeah, definitely
like
a different shooter.
I believe you described it to us as a Damon-like.
It's a Damon-like,
a game that Damon will like.
Sounds relevant to my interest.
You don't have it yet, right?
I don't have it yet.
Okay. Yeah, as we're recording this in the past, so it's not available yet. Have you played it?
I haven't, no.
Yeah.
But I think just seeing the art style alone was enough to sell me on it. I really dig these artistic games because it's not about a mechanic. It's not about how to play the game. It's kind of about the world that's presented to us. And this one, just from the get-go, just from looking at it right now, I was immediately like, all right, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to give it a shot.
It's a huge gamble for a developer to do, an art style like that. If you recall Wind Waker Gate, when Wind Waker was first revealed, right? There were people who were so mad about the look of that game. They said they will never play it.
That game looks amazing.
Still.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing about a game like Earth Atlantis is that in 20 years, that game will still look that good.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about this on the show before.
Yeah.
But like graphics that stand the test of time, like that art style, Cuphead will always look amazing.
It looks like it was created in a certain era, but it'll always retain its like creation zone. Like it'll always look that good, no matter, like you said earlier. The political 3D PS1 games, Dreamcast games, they kind of have this weird rough
They
around
haven't
the edges.
aged well, yeah.
No,
They
I'm not
haven't.
gonna- I'm not going to stand by and let you talk smack on the Dreamcast.
Oh, I love the Dreamcast.
Okay, cool. All right,
I love the Dreamcast. No. It's one of my favorite consoles.
I thought we were going to have to kick you off the show again.
No. I'm just racking up all these points of getting kicked off the show right away. Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot for Zach to hate you. I mean, he hates us. He hates his best friend Brian.
It's mostly
so,
true.
Yeah. All it takes is picking the wrong games.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'll watch my words carefully then.
He's tall, but I don't think he's that powerful.
It's true.
He's been working out.
Yeah. All right. Ninja Showdown also came out. I mean, it's like every week the list of games that are coming out. It's just, I mean, there are a lot. And there are smaller games and some games that you might want to skip, and we'll get to those next. But Ninja Showdown, also a pretty popular multiplayer game.
Is it? I don't know. I don't have any experience with
Okay.
it. But I was going to say, you're right. More and more games are coming out each week. I think it's clear what's happening here, right? Everybody's trying to get their game out on Switch before Mario.
Oh, is that it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because once Mario's out, what else is anyone going to play?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you had this period at the very beginning where everyone was only playing Zelda.
Yeah.
Right, and then now you've got this like massive influx of indies and second party games.
Like,
and
this
then,
is our window, guys.
Yeah, get them in now, and then when Mario comes out, that's going to carry me through 2018.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's definitely a reward for people who, games that hit the platform early.
Sure,
You know,
there's that too.
when the eShop wasn't that crowded, there's definitely a discovery issue on the Switch, right? It's not like you log into your Switch and it goes, gives you Earth Atlantis right off the bat. You have to drill down. You have to go into a news feed, and depending on what you subscribe to, you may be getting all the prompts for, get a free fire rod in Breath of the Wild or that kind of stuff. So
It's Mike Pereira.
yeah, I think this whole thing is going to get so packed that, I mean, we'll see what the ecosystem will be like in a couple of months.
I think the fact that they're having so much support so early on. I mean, it hasn't even been a year since things been out, and it's already loaded with games for any type of gamer to on the go. It's just fascinating. It's just so quick. It seemed like yesterday they just said, "Hey, here it is, and here's how you use it." And now in the same year, we've got Zelda, Mario, definitive editions of Mario Kart, a new Splatoon, and a bunch of indies that are just kind of killing it right now.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
So let's talk about a game that does not use a 16-bit art style because it uses an 8-bit one.
like an advanced 8-bit. Yeah.
That's Axiom Verge.
Yeah.
So it's a game we've talked about on the show before. It's finally out as well for $20.
Well, it's really nice because Nintendo did release a new Metroid game this year.
Yep.
Metroid Samus Returns, but not for the Switch. So here's a Metroid game for the Switch.
Right.
Axiom Verge.
Yeah, it's funny because before Metroid was announced, we kept on saying, well, at least you can play Axiom Verge, right?
Right.
There's a game. Let's have that on the 3DS and on the Switch, and boom. Obviously, it is now on the Switch, and if you want to play something that is not just like Metroid, is exactly like Metroid.
In pretty much everything but name. And this is the other game that was made by just one guy.
Yeah.
One guy did all the programming, design, the music, and the art.
Thomas Happ worked so hard on this game. It's just incredible how it feels like it just came out a couple days ago, but really, I mean, literally in this case, but it's been around in the ecosystem for at least a year or
Couple
so.
of years.
Yeah,
I think there was a playable alpha as early as like 2012.
Yep.
So this has been a long time coming.
Yeah, and I'm just really happy for Tom because this was his blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
And it
He's
means
been
so
in-
much to him.
He's been in the industry for a while, but previously he worked on stuff like the Tiger Woods
Right.
series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly the same genre as this.
we host
like
the,
golf.
Yep.
during GDC. IGN hosts the sort of indie meetup, and we have a bunch of developers come in and showcase their games. And I distinctly remember talking to Tom the year that March before Axiom Verge launched, and just like he just looked beat up because you could tell he was in the home stretch. But the way that he talked about his game was like so inspiring to me because it's just like, here's a guy that loves what he's created and has just poured himself into this game. And I think it shows. Like, it's a really tight homage to Metroid, but it's also its own unique thing. And I think it's really cool that it's on the Switch. I never finished it on PlayStation, but like I said, I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to go back and finish it. So
Yeah, I have a feeling I will finish more games on the Switch just because of that portability factor again.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
you're traveling right now. Jirard's actually, you live in LA, right?
Yeah.
So do you bring a Switch with you on these
almost
trips?
everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something crazy that when you're playing a game on, like, you can't play Destiny on the go. So you're playing it at home and you're like, all right, it's time to put it down.
if only.
And you you put it down and you walk away and that's it. But this is, I have to go somewhere. Well, the experience is going to go
Yep.
with me. And games like Axiom Verge are perfect for that because you can just keep cranking it when you've got time.
Yeah. So when I look at the lineup, there are a couple more games we'll talk about, but to me, like Stardew Valley is a must play. Axiom Verge, if you're looking for a classic Metroid 8-bit experience, certainly a must play. I like Earth Atlantis so far. I hope it holds up and delivers on it. There are a couple of games like Tumblestone came out. It's very much a traditional Bust-A-Move clone, where you shoot blocks instead of squares.
Also very good.
Instead of bubbles, but it's quality stuff, right? It's not filling a gap. Like, you could play Puyo Tetris instead, which is an awesome
I love Puyo.
It's a really good game, but
great.
it's like it's kind of hard to look. I mean, there are not many bad games hitting this platform.
No, it's true. Yeah, Tumblestone is actually really good. Match 3 game, really designed for local multiplayer play.
Four players
four
on the
players.
same screen at the same time.
Yeah, so that's really cool. But then another game that's out this week, Volgarr the Viking, is also really good.
Yeah.
I played that on Xbox
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, and it's a 2D hack and slash, another retro pixel art game, but it's really well done. It's like Black Tiger or Rastan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So Damon, but I can't buy all these games. First of all, it's more than $100. I don't have that much money. No, to buy all of these, like, I mean, where do you cut something? Let's talk about the next game on the list. Oxenfree is out on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Which is, if you haven't played it, it's a very very lovingly created homage almost to classic adventure games.
Yeah.
With more modern graphics. I'd liken it to kind of almost like a traditional watercolor painting background with these characters that are constantly talking to each other.
Yeah.
Because they're young people.
They're kids,
They're
right?
young
They're teens, and I think that's sort of the charm here. There is this sort of lost or almost Twin Peaks influenced supernatural thing happening on this island, and these kids are talking to each other about it like kids would talk to each other about it. And I think that's the thing that really drew me in playing Oxenfree last year. Like, I love this game. I'm really glad that it's coming to Switch, and I feel like you called them the new indie royalty earlier, and I think that having these 3 games, Stardew, Axiom, and Oxenfree, is like a huge boon to the Switch's indie library. I mean, it was already great, but then you've got these 3 sort of landmark games from the last couple of years to sort of support that as well. So
yeah, it's a bummer Inside is not out. Otherwise, you'd have
that'd be really awesome
another
too.
crown in that royalty right there.
And
But
might as well do Limbo as well.
this did you play Oxenfree as well?
I did. I didn't really get into the story because it's one of those games where once you start, you really have to invest yourself in.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great game to sit down and like blast through in 2 sittings or something.
Yeah, and
Not a whole week.
right.
Yeah.
It's definitely I know some of the actors who worked in the game, and so I'm very familiar with what it's about and kind of what the game is worth in the sense of an experience. But I think when it came out, I forget when it came out last year, but
There was early last year, I feel
There
like.
it was kind of in the middle of a bunch of different titles that were like back to back, and I think I ended up picking a different title, so that's why I didn't quite get to this, which is why I'm excited. It's on Switch now, so when I am on the plane, I can get around to playing it.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, if you're not into adventure games and not action adventures like Zelda, this is you walk around, you look at things, you interact, and you talk to each other. And sometimes that can take a while, right? Getting from one point to the other, if you've taken a wrong turn, it can take you a while in this game. Would you say that's fair?
I haven't played this game,
Oh,
but
I
I
see.
do
Okay,
like
yeah,
I do
you're
like
right.
adventure games.
But
That's-
it's like, it is a storybook, right? You invest in the interactions and in seeing what happens next. And one clever thing about this game is like whenever somebody says something, like you're never really stuck in these cutscenes. Like most of the time you can interact. Whenever somebody says something, your character will have 3 speech bubbles, usually with possible answers, and they quickly start to fade. And so you have the choice to say, all right, I'm going to butt in, make a snide comment, I'm going to agree or disagree, or you just let
keep
it
your mouth
go,
shut, yeah.
and the characters will continue to talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes their responses will change depending on like what you say or don't say.
Yeah, and you can
lot of the
even
time.
walk away from a conversation. Like if somebody's talking to you, you walk away. They're like, "Why are you walking away?"
Yeah.
It's a very, very clever, but really lovingly created game that I think it's worth a look if you're into the more story-driven adventure games of horror. Yeah. Another cool
Of which
game.
I am. Yeah, I think it's really great.
A slightly bigger game came out in Japan so far. Fire Emblem Warriors is actually out.
Yeah, only slightly.
If you remember, this thing is actually region free. So if you register a Nintendo account and set your region to Japanese, and then you create the Nintendo account online with the Japanese region, you can play Japanese games there. It gets a little tricky when you have to buy something. I think don't you need to, if you don't have a credit card, a Japanese credit card, you might have to buy yourself a code or something.
Oh, really?
For it to stock up. But yeah, I have to check how that works. I remember it was a little complicated, but you can import games digitally on this machine, which is cool. If
That's
you can't
really cool.
wait for Fire Emblem Warriors, but why? It's out soon, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's out this month, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, really soon.
Perry, you're about to miss one more good game that's out this week.
What is it?
Metal Slug X.
Oh, we kind of gloss over the Neo Geo games, but you're right.
But this one is actually a really good one.
Yeah.
It's a modified version of Metal Slug 2, a much improved version, and it's definitely up there in the Metal Slug series. This is one of the best games in the series.
So like that, and I'm glad you're here because when I look at the list of Neo Geo games now on the Switch, I'm like, whoa! Like, I bought a Metal Slug game.
Which one? The 3?
I think
that might be the best one.
No, I think it was 3.
Yeah, that one's
But
really
it's like, how many more are there?
There's a lot of Metal Slug.
There's at least 10
Metal Slug.
apparently. Yeah.
There's a lot.
So like X is really 2. So I don't know if there's actually 10 Metal Slug games, but they're good. They're like classic run and gun shooters with a lot of style and personality and humor.
Yeah, it's like if you're more of a Nintendo kid, it's like the Contra of the Neo Geo, right?
Yeah,
like you can play 2-player together, but you can jump into vehicles.
It's like Contra with much better animation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like beautiful art style with a lot of like crazy machinery flying in. And
there's definitely a lot happening on the screen when you're playing.
Oh yeah,
and it'll slow down. Like the Switch authentically slows down all the time. Those games, they did not give a crap. They just said it's gonna slow down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, man. But I don't know what options they had back in the day when they were making.
Well,
stuff.
they could have had fewer bullets, Damon.
No, you cannot have fewer bullets.
Yeah. Okay.
That flies in the face of all that Metal Slug is.
Exactly.
It's right there in the title.
But these are straight arcade ports. They haven't done anything fancy like add like save states or anything like that.
Yep. But I mean, they're good. They're good games. There's some good games on the list. But again, like we're looking at this lineup. Which one would you, if you had to pick one game, or if you only could pick one game that came out this week, what would you play?
As much as I love Night School and Oxenfree, I'm going to say Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
Because
Night School.
Night School is the developer of Oxenfree. Stardew Valley is my pick because you're looking at easily 100 hours of game, if not more. I mean, there's so much stuff to do, and it is so charming and so funny. And I mean, there's a little something for everybody, I feel like, in that game. So, yeah.
What'd you?
I gotta go with Axiom Verge.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with it when it came out. I'm still obsessed with it. I can't wait to play it on the Switch.
Nice.
Yeah, I would go with Axiom Verge as well. It's the closest thing to Metroid on the Switch right now, and it's a legitimately really, really good game.
Cool. I'm going to be super unhelpful and say Oxenfree then. So, yeah. No, it's I just really love these story-driven adventure games. I'm glad that there's a market for them again because it was gone before Telltale really brought that genre back. There were none. You know,
and it's also stuff like Life is Strange, which has been a big hit.
Yeah,
Life is Strange is so good.
Yeah, no, there's some good games in the adventure genre out. So let's shift gears and talk about a platform that we rarely talk about, but that's still very much alive, and that's the Nintendo 3DS.
Yeah,
the 3DS actually saw a pretty big game release this week, and I ignored it for the longest time because it's a remake of a game that I played way back when, like 14 years ago?
Yeah.
Is that how long it's been? So this came out on the GBA. It's Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minion.
Yep.
Did you guys play the original?
I played the original like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played a lot of the original.
I recently just replayed the original about 2-3 months ago.
In a week?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it in a week. Okay,
it's a pretty short game.
Yeah.
There's Mario's nipples. Everyone's making a big deal about it now.
Yeah, but this is the remake.
It's the original nipples.
You couldn't see the nipples because what you're not seeing is that on the GBA this game looked a lot different.
Yeah,
I mean they spent a lot of time on it, and you may remember it looking like this. It did not look like this.
Yeah.
Like the GBA graphics were very, very simple in comparison. They redid a lot of the animations as well, but it has the full quest still available. And at the time, I don't know if it holds up. I got to play this one a little bit more now, but at the time, I had a really good sense of humor too.
It's one of the only games to date that can make me laugh out loud.
Yeah.
I think that the writing, the localization, it's so funny still.
I love that. I mean, in this opening scene, it's like Toad suggests just beat Bowser as usual.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's very self-aware. And then it's got Bowser is not the ultimate bad guy, right? In this game, it's actually what was her name? It was Cackletta.
Yeah,
and Fawful. And Fawful's English is really
terrible. Yeah,
right? It's really terrible.
Yeah.
And so a lot of jokes come from just the language of this strange creature dude, and just the weirdness of this kingdom where they like you just can't take anything too serious.
Yeah.
And then the re-release adds a new mode
with the Goombas.
So yeah. So do you know how that works? Like you're actually playing as Captain Goomba, and you can unlock 3 other captains as well. So you can get your Boo and your Koopa Troopa.
Oh, that's cool.
A Shy Guy captain as well. And so of course that goes along with the amiibo.
And that's a full campaign, or
it's like this parallel story basically, not as big as and involved. They're trying to basically fight the real bad guys. Like it's the bad guys fighting the real bad guys.
Sure.
Yeah. For King Bowser.
Right.
But it's kind of like a weird game that I don't think any of us would have asked for. Right?
Yeah.
Like
For
if somebody
like a
said
remake?
if somebody said
Yeah.
remake something, bring it to 3DS, would you have thought of that?
No.
No, right?
Especially-
Not particularly, especially for
remake-
for the 14-year anniversary.
Well, and
like
not to mention it's on the Wii U Virtual Console, so
Yeah.
it's like everyone's had the ability to recently replay it.
Right.
So when I heard the news, I kind of was like, I'm not really sure I wanted that. I mean, it looks
Yeah.
great, and I'm probably gonna play it, but it was something I didn't ask for.
It's a bummer. It's a good game, and I talked to Dan Stapleton, our reviews editor. We're actually not reviewing this one because the user interest was so low. Like,
Yeah.
very few people were actually looking up information for this game. So for us, it didn't really make sense to get somebody to spend lots, unless you want to do it, spend lots and lots of time playing this
freelance?
game
We're
and
gonna do it
reviewing
anyway.
But I've been playing the game, and it's a quality RPG.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of the elements from the Paper Mario series, right?
Right.
The interactive combat. It wears a little thin after a while.
Sure. I mean, I feel like that's sort of the
All those
combat
games.
in
Yeah.
all
I
those
never
games.
finished
Yeah.
them.
Some of the jokes may misfire nowadays, but I mean it's probably worth a look if you stuck with the 3DS and you didn't look at this giant list of Switch games coming out. There's one.
And
Plus, you can buy Amiibo. That's
An
always
interesting game because it sort of split that Super Mario RPG timeline, right?
Yeah.
Like it created Paper Mario and
Superstar
this-
Saga.
yeah, like for consoles, and then the Game Boy Advance and DS got a whole line of Mario and Luigi RPGs that I like. I really dig those games a lot. I played a lot of them.
Yep.
Bowser's Inside Story is really great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's interesting to like look at this game as a jumping off point for those games. So yeah.
There's a new franchise title though that also came out on the 3DS, and that's Layton's Mystery Journey: Catriel and the Millionaire's Conspiracy. The Professor Layton games always have those
Lengthy.
long titles
Lengthy.
that we actually have to redesign our website for just to fit them on a single line somewhere. Came out October 6th. That's the 7th game in the series.
Yeah.
You guys Layton fans?
I love a good Layton.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've
Yeah,
played.
I don't think you're a Layton fan.
It's been a while since I played a Layton. I think I played the first one. And that was it. Not that I didn't like it, but it it's not. It wasn't really for me.
And I think this game is already been out on mobile.
Yeah,
I believe
that's right.
So
Yeah.
Now it's coming to 3DS.
So yeah, it's not published. It's published by Level 5, right?
they're actually doing the publishing.
Yeah, and it's the story this time is your Professor Layton's daughter. So typical father-daughter story. When the daughter is the main character, the father has vanished. So you need to
gotta go find him.
Always
Yeah.
happens in video games, right?
Yeah.
Mystery.
Yeah. Wait for Uncharted 5. We'll see what happens there. But I dig those games. They're hidden object games
Yeah.
mostly. You have to look for clues.
Some
but
real
they
brain
also-
busters in there
Yeah,
occasionally.
and then they switch to these little puzzles. Sometimes slide puzzles. Sometimes like just brain busters. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people fell into one of two camps that you're either Layton or Phoenix Wright.
Or the crossover, man.
Yeah, the crossover is
Yeah,
really
crossover,
good. Yeah.
I like both franchises, but you got to be in the mood for them. And in the past, these games have always been the perfect travel games for me on the
Yeah.
3DS because you can play a couple of puzzles, save it, and do something else. But now you got the Switch. It would be nice to see that franchise there.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, I think those games would look gorgeous on the Switch screen. So
So that's, a lot of games have come out, and I feel like we've done a decent job at telling people what to get. You probably have to spend like $60, like the price of a full game, if you want to play all the really good ones.
yeah, but then you're talking
You get a
about
bunch of games.
Yeah, I was
Hours
gonna
and
say, even if you
hours
spend,
of
I was gonna say if you spend $60 on the big four that we recommended,
Yeah.
you're looking at 200 hours of gameplay. Like,
But I'd say do it now because soon, in 3 weeks, there will be Mario, and then you're
3 short
Let there be
weeks.
Mario.
That. Yeah, we'll be only talking about Mario for the next 2 years. Just
That's right.
as a warning.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, we want to talk. We want to talk about you a little bit.
Oh, man.
You made the trip up from LA, and you're a mystery to us
Oh man, hopefully I'll be able to clear the air then.
because you're a Nintendo-focused YouTuber.
I am.
thought that was impossible.
Yeah.
How's that work?
I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to explain YouTube in a nutshell and how it works in regards to copyright claims and strikes. And I actually get a lot of scrutiny for being one of the only YouTube, I guess influencer is the correct term, but I hate that word,
Yeah.
YouTuber ambassador for Nintendo. And I think a lot of it is because when YouTubers make videos, they get flagged right away, immediately, whether it's got copywritten content in it or nowadays for inappropriate content or whatever.
For Nintendo content, right?
Like if Nintendo's the most aggressive, hands down. But the way I've interpreted it, and after speaking with them, they're not really trying to go after people who aren't commentating or aren't really contributing to what's being played or reviewing, in this case with me. They're trying to go after people who are putting long plays, who aren't putting any footage, who aren't putting any personal spin or take. They just want to take down or at least claim those who are posting just games. Yeah, and it's because, and really it's their right to do this, unfortunately. The idea is they want to reserve that like experience for people who want to play the game and buy the game. And because there's some people out there who just upload these long play videos that are no talking, nothing, just this is footage.
Here's the game, basically.
Here's the game. And immediately it cuts out the necessity of, I don't need to listen to a Let's Play or read a review. I can just go, I've seen the game, so I have no need to play it. And so I think that's kind of Nintendo kind of create this automated system with YouTube. And unfortunately, YouTubers like myself, both small and large, we are kind of caught in the crossfire. Right. And it's up to us to speak with Nintendo, to speak with YouTube, to try and figure out how to diminish those claims, because every time I've gotten a claim, I've always fought it and I've always won. But I know that's not the case for every YouTuber, and I'm lucky in that sense that I know people who work at Nintendo, and so I can have those conversations when I need to. But unfortunately, not everyone can have that.
But that still happens. Like, if you put up a clip, do you get a copyright strain?
For me, no, not usually, and that's
because you're part of the kind of like the ambassador approved crew at this point. Or,
it is an automated system, so I do get flagged every now and then, but I think when I do get flagged, I message them and say, hey, I'm letting you know I got flagged. Please check your systems to see if you can to unflag it. And 9 out of 10 times they'll do it, but majority of the claims are coming from Nintendo of Japan with YouTube. So it's not really through Nintendo of America. It's through the corporate entity over in Japan.
Do you think when I first heard about this, I'm like, they're doing this to curb negative press in a way, right? They have this system where they say, all right, everybody gets flagged when they post something about our game with our footage, and then we'll kind of cherry pick the positive voices in the ecosystem. Sure. I mean, do you think there's something to that, or
no? At least not for me. When I first started, and I still just say whatever I want. I always tell Nintendo, hey, I'm gonna say whatever I want, good or bad. You can't really license my voice or market me, and they've always been, that's totally fine. You can say whatever you want and do whatever you want, and they've never had a hands-on approach or controlled my content or maliciously gone after me. And I know a lot of YouTubers who've had that exact same experience. It's just they make what they make, and whether it gets caught by the bot is one thing, but Nintendo never uses that kind of strong arming, and it's the narrative is there. People, they get the flag. They'll take a photo of it and put it on Twitter and say, look what the big N did to me. This sucks. And it's usually just an automated system that does the flagging, and then you're talking to YouTube directly for the most part.
For the record, we get flagged all the time.
Every
platform. It's like even when we debut a trailer with a company, some automated system or some legal person hits a button and we get flagged too, and it's a pain in the butt, right? And on YouTube, if you live stream, your live streams don't work when you have a flag. Right?
You get you get flagged in real time, and your live stream breaks,
just shuts off.
Yeah, it just shuts off,
which is not awesome. As you can imagine, when IGN is about to live stream from E3 and we get a flag for a trailer
that happened at this year's E3.
That happens.
Yeah,
that's not fun.
It's interesting that Nintendo is worried about these long play, just straight gameplay videos, sort of lessening the value of their games. Or I don't know if that's their worry, because first of all, watching someone else play a game is not the same as playing the game yourself.
Right.
Totally different. And also, I think just having straight gameplay archived is valuable.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I mean, here at IGN, we have an entire team that's dedicated to capturing gameplay raw, to use for things like features, to use for things like top 10 lists, to use reviews, things like that. But a lot of times when those guys when their workday is slow or their workload is minimal, I see Barrett capturing Assassin's Creed 2. I see Josh capturing the original BioShock, because it's like we want archival stuff in the highest quality possible to use down the road. And so like I totally see your point there. Like that definitely makes sense.
Think about, I mean, Miiverse is dead, and so some of the features that you saw in even New Super Mario Brothers are gone, right?
forever.
Like so, you are not
time
going to
capsule.
be able to replay that the same way and demonstrate how that works. And so, yeah, it's super important to capture stuff for archival footage. But like as a YouTuber, I mean, does this mean a lot of people who want to become streamers or build a YouTube channel just basically say, hey, Nintendo is not an option for me. I'm going to focus on playing Dark Souls or, you know, maybe a game from a less litigious company?
I think so it's interesting because Nintendo is not as I kind of said it earlier. They're not as aggressive as they seem. It is a bot that does all the automation, and almost every other company has the same automation. The difference is that when you file a counterclaim against, you know, someone like Ubisoft or Bandai Namco, they almost immediately let go of the claim almost right away because they understand YouTube. They talk to YouTubers. They have community managers that work with YouTubers on a more larger scale or a more large scale. And with Nintendo, it's not the same. It's there's a bit of a situation where it goes to someone else who doesn't know who you are. And so, you know, even if I get a claim as the completionist, that one video gamer, they're going to get this automated notice and they're going to go, oh, I don't know what that is. I'm just not going to address it, or I'll just forget about it, or no, this is our footage. And so I think that's the major difference is you see a lot of the companies are paying attention to the YouTube space and the streaming space. And while everyone else is kind of discouraged by Nintendo, you're still going to have people out there who are still making Nintendo content, still pushing it out there, making lists and archival footage, you know, for any kind of purpose rather than just straight up long plays.
And so you're about 70% Nintendo? Like the rest,
I'd say
other consoles?
75% Nintendo usually.
And with a channel like with 700,000 plus subscribers, by the way, congratulations.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
amazing,
Yeah, awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Is it? Can you make a living? Is this a full-time job for you?
Oh, I have my own business. I have 14 employees that work for me worldwide, 9 in-house, 5 worldwide. But then again, to me, YouTube has always been a bit of a gamble. There's a lot of mystery of how it works, and a lot of people don't understand the business model, or they manipulate it, or they just kind of go, well, I'm only one person, so I'm just going to spend the money that I have. And for me, I've always looked at the platform as kind of this constrictive unit. You know, YouTube can disappear tomorrow, and all of my followers and my hard work and my reputation is just poof gone. And so for me, I look at things like merchandise and Patreon and you know, like creating things like films and documentaries and music, and those are ways that I've created a brand outside of just the Completionist in my company. But at the end of the day, I love video games. It's, you know, we all love video games,
right?
And I think
I don't care for them.
And YouTube, Damon's YouTube channel is called The Contrarian.
I'm the give upinist.
The Deletionist.
Yeah, deletionist.
The deletionist. I'm getting that one right now. That's awesome.
But I think it definitely is viable. You just have to play your cards accordingly. And I think.
But like if I don't do a Patreon and I just have a YouTube channel with 700,000 subs, can I sit at home, just make videos and get some good eating?
Absolutely,
Get some good eating.
If your costs are low and it's just a one-man army, absolutely you can, or 2 people, 3 people, yes. But again, YouTube in that's the thing about YouTube. YouTube is constantly changing. Every single year, it's like a new, it's almost like at the end of December, everything resets, algorithms change, interests change, YouTube behavior changes. And so YouTube from 2010, when I started, is way different than YouTube now.
Do you get impacted if PewDiePie says a naughty?
Me personally, no. But
it's like your content is flagged as kind of safe, so you're different.
PewDiePie says a naughty.
Well, look, I mean, I think YouTube is such an interesting ecosystem in that something can happen to you even if you didn't change anything about your channel, right? Like an algorithm can change, and YouTube says, you know what? We really want to promote channels that do makeup tutorials more because our advertisers are more into that, right? And suddenly gaming content drops out of the recommendations a little bit, right? And it can have a huge impact. I mean, we see this all the time. Sure. I'm just curious when that's your livelihood and that's your business, when PewDiePie does do something, sometimes advertisers say YouTube's not safe. I don't want to advertise on YouTube anymore. And I know there's certain YouTubers who pulled out of certain advertisers who pulled out of YouTube altogether. And so, I'm wondering if that trickles down, or you're pretty fortified to that.
So this year, because of certain controversies across the internet, we have definitely seen this certain adpocalypse, right? Everyone's talking about
Adpocalypse,
it. Yeah, adpocalypse. Everyone, they hear it and they're like, what does that mean? Or it sounds really dumb. And it actually does sound really dumb. But
super relevant. I mean, it's a stupid name, but it does represent like a much larger issue.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think because of this adpocalypse, the adpocalypse is a result.
Stop saying adpocalypse.
I know. It's a result of the actions of few, but the scapegoat that they've been looking for a long time, because there's been an advertising problem on YouTube for a very, very long time. And the way that I interpret it is they just wanted a scapegoat. They needed someone to pin it on. And once they had that public figure out there with guys like Felix and whoever else was in the middle of that stuff, it just kind of opened the floodgate of everyone pulling out. And now it's much better. It's almost non-existent, but it's
then you
still
get
a hot topic.
You get new mechanisms, right? Like YouTube, in order to show that obviously the majority of content on YouTube is brand safe, right? It's what advertisers are looking for is, somebody talking about a video game and professing their love or even their frustration with a video game. That's usually good content and safe for an advertiser to be adjacent to. But they changed their systems too to auto-identify topics and say, this is not brand safe. Right?
It's not just topics, but it's the self-aware system detects swear words, keywords, and even trains based off of your content. So let's say you're doing a Dark Souls video, and in the video you titled it "Prepare to Die." If you do not tag your video with Dark Souls, YouTube goes, "Oh, death is in the title. Flag that video." Unless you say Dark Souls video game Bandai Namco, then it tells YouTube, "Oh, it's a video game. Okay, we'll let it slide." And a lot of people don't realize that. So when you are, being like, "Oh, I have all the guns from Call of Duty," and you don't tag Call of Duty or gameplay, they
I have all the guns
or whatever it may be.
Right. Yeah.
But then they assume, "Oh, this person's showing off their entire gun collection. Don't let anyone see this video."
Gotcha.
And so it's become this weird monster that's learning and growing and adapting based on keywords and behaviors in YouTube's ecosystem.
It's too complicated. I'm not doing this.
I know. Well, I know it's crazy.
I think part of your underlying message, and forgive me if I've misinterpreted this, but I think one of the most important things you said there is to make sure that you're diversifying.
Yes.
Like regardless of what you do as a content creator, the tenuousness of YouTube as a viable platform, I think, is one of the most interesting things that you said, because I create content for IGN and YouTube every single day, but I've never really stopped to think about one day somebody could just shut that valve off and that's over. And then where does that live? Where does that get archived? What do I do with the content that I've created to prove that, hey, I've made 100 hours of content around this thing? So that's really interesting to me, is to if you are looking to be a content creator, don't just look at the easiest solution. Figure out how to create things around that content and for different platforms.
So that's where merch comes in, right? Obviously, selling T-shirts and having having a Patreon of people who directly support you fortifies you from that volatility, right?
And I don't even mean necessarily merch, but I think having a Snapchat channel as well, looking into different creator platforms.
It's just difficult to scale, right? It's something we
a lot of
struggle
work
with
for
at
one
IGN,
person, that's
right?
for sure. Yeah,
we have people working just on the Snapchat edition of IGN every day. And what happens with YouTube, right? IGN was on YouTube very early. We have, what do we got, 8.5 million subs by now?
Almost 9.
On the main channel. This NVC channel, if you're watching this on YouTube, is tiny, obviously. But the ecosystem has changed so many times that the rev share, so the amount of money you get when YouTube sells an ad, or when we are actually able to sell ads on YouTube as well, our sales team can run them, our ad ops team can fly them. That number changes. So at one point, it was 70% to the creator and 30% to YouTube, and that number kept on going down and down and down, right?
Yeah.
Until
it goes down every year a little bit more and more.
It's the old Eddie Murphy joke, half, right? When you've got all the work, but only half the glory.
You have to think about how many different platforms YouTube is competing with now, right? Because in 2010, when you started, it was just YouTube.
Yep.
That was the video platform. Now everyone has a video platform. We're working really hard to get our shows up on Facebook Watch right now. And that's competition. So they're going to need to find those different avenues of revenue to compensate for the idea that people are going to watch content elsewhere.
Yep.
And what's fascinating about all of that is that 65% of the traffic on YouTube is gaming related.
Holy cow.
65% is gaming related.
I had no idea. That's crazy.
The rest is music.
The rest is
makeup
probably
tips.
makeup tips and music. But you're looking at a platform that is punishing the majority of the advertiser dollars that should be being brought to the table, but really they're just kind of monopolizing on it. They're saying, if you want to make money on our platform, we're the only ones. You can't make a YouTube video and then throw it on VidMe or Vimeo yet. They're trying to ramp up to that kind of competition, but if you don't have an ad platform to back you, then your only option is YouTube.
Yeah.
And that's why it is important to, like you said, diversify as much as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or folks,
Fascinating.
if you love a YouTuber and they have a Patreon, think about contributing. It really helps.
Yeah.
Nobody's asking for a handout, right, Jirard? But if you love his channel and you want him to finish games in a week, I gotta ask you about this because I saw this really charming video. I think you were talking to Aonuma and at one point about finishing Breath of the Wild in a week.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So actually, you guys were the ones that helped spread the word. So thank you for that. You featured me for a while. So because of my reputation with Nintendo, they've been gracious enough to invite me to cool events. And I spoke to Miyamoto way back in the day about Star Fox Zero, and they invited me back to talk about Breath of the Wild. And when I was talking to Nintendo, they said, hey, we're not doing a lot of these interviews. We want them all to be very different and very unique in your own style. So what would you want to talk to them about? And I kind of sat there and was like, I don't know. I just want to ask questions about the game. Like it's like, what do you say to your heroes? Like, what do you want me to say? Yeah. And they were like, well, why don't you show them your accolades as a gamer? And I go, what does that mean? And they said, well,
here's all my medals.
Yeah. So I prepared a PowerPoint presentation of,
oh Lord.
I know, it was weird. I prepared a PowerPoint presentation of every Zelda game that I beat with like my stats and my footage. And I wasn't really planning on showing it, but, I was like, I think I'm going to like not show this. And as the interview went on, Aonuma kept teasing me that I wasn't going to be able to beat his game. He was like, it's going to take you forever. And the translator kept looking at me like kind of laughing, and I could tell they were like making fun of me as I was asking him. So I was like, okay, so I got kind of choked up, and I was like, I want to share with you, how much I love Zelda and what it's meant to me. And I showed my presentation, and there's just an image of him that's just like, he just leans in and he kind of whispers to the translator, and the translator goes, he thinks you probably actually can do it.
Yeah.
And it was just really a humbling experience to talk to me.
For him.
For him, I guess.
You can tell, but when you watch the video, you can see the doubt starting to creep into his eyes as you're talking about everything you've done. That's pretty nuts, man.
Yeah, it's been a true pleasure.
So what happened? Did you beat Breath of the Wild in 1 week?
I didn't beat it in a week, but it's the reason why I didn't beat it in a week because the Korok seeds. There was not enough. There was not enough expansive information out there,
right?
Because usually when I do games, I get them the same time that you guys do, and so it's a race to beat the game, but I don't have a wiki team or the ability to look up answers or anything. And so sometimes it's kind of like, I'm just going to guess that I completed the game, maybe not, until the game, guides come out. And so for my Breath of the Wild playthrough, I had 4 different guides from Piggyback, all different versions, because they all had different versions of the map.
Sure.
I had markers and Sharpies, and I was like, this map's wrong, but this one's right. This one has an error with like lining them. And it's just, my entire office just looked like maps everywhere.
Just a crazy person's scrawlings on the wall.
Yeah.
Like with red
and it took me about I think 3 weeks to finally do it when it was all said and done. So luckily it was within the time the game came out. But it was pretty stressful. There was a lot of
no one can fault you for that. That's an enormous game.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, if you had the kind of the tools that came out later with the DLC to find the Korok seed,
the Korok mask,
it would have been a lot easier.
I said,
how pissed were you when you saw that Korok mask?
The week that I made my video and it went up, I was like, if only there was a mechanic that could show you where these Korok seeds are. The next day, the Nintendo Direct debuted, and they announced the mechanic, and I just sat there in disbelief.
Just a hard cut to you.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think the next game should have a Jirard mask in it that forces you to complete the game in 7 days, because after 7 days it'll delete your file.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm in. I'll take that challenge.
He'll take the challenge.
Yeah.
Awesome. Respect that.
We have a couple of minutes left. Why don't we check in with...
you want to jam through your question block?
Yeah, check in with our viewers. But before that, I want to say thank you to busy reading something, who left us a new review on iTunes for the podcast version of this here show. You can, of course, listen to it in your car. He said, I've been listening for about a year, and I have to say this is the podcast I enjoy the most. Topics are discussed thoroughly, and the hosts are very entertaining. A must listen if you enjoy Nintendo or video games. Also, check their YouTube channel for their video version. Thank you for all the hard work, guys. Mac.
Sounds
yes,
like
dude,
Mac should change his name to Busy Listening to something.
You think it's Little Mac?
Probably.
I don't think it's Little Mac.
it's
But
a
yeah,
little
thank you. If you're listening to the audio version, you can find NVC obviously every week on IGN, but also on our tiny little fleggling YouTube channel. Subscribe there. We're actually adding game footage to the show as well. So if you want to see what some of these games look like, thank you very much, Barrett. Garrett. What was that kid's name?
Yeah.
Barrett. Zach.
Yeah, so we have been sort of randomly selecting question block questions from each of our platforms. Sometimes I'll take them from the NVC group. Sometimes I'll take them from Twitter. Sometimes from the email nvc@ign.com. And for a while, I was feeling like that's pretty sporadic. Now I kind of like it. Now it's kind of like, and I can just show up on a Thursday and say, okay, here I am in the Facebook group. This is where I'm pulling questions from this week. So follow us on Twitter, join the Facebook group, email us at NVC. Chances are we'll get you in there one of these days. But today's first question comes from Teddy on Facebook, who I want to give a special shout out to for helping me get my SNES Classic. Teddy says, if and when Nintendo makes the N64 Classic, which games would you like to see on it? Ignoring the fact that certain games are impossible, like GoldenEye, or sports games due to licensing issues.
So ignoring that, then Banjo-Kazooie gets to be on it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And Conquer.
I will
Conquer.
definitely put Banjo on it, but I mean, you gotta
Banjo 1 and 2E?
No.
just
Banjo
just
1.
Kazooie.
Yeah.
2 is not as good as you remember it to be. Like
I played
the
it when
levels are good.
They re-released it on Xbox 360.
Okay.
I played through it again.
It ran nicer.
I still
right?
liked it. Yeah. It did run really
No,
nice.
it's a great
It's
game.
way tougher. It's a way different game. It's obviously the same aesthetic, but the design of it it's much more difficult.
But I would say I would definitely put the games on there that defined the N64 for me. So that'd be Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time for sure, Mario Kart 64 for the multiplayer, and then GoldenEye. You have to have GoldenEye.
Not Majora's Mask.
But see, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask is really great, but if you have Ocarina of Time, you kind of have that action-adventure genre covered, and I would rather leave space for some of the other genres, which Damon will bring up now.
Perfect Dark
There you go.
better than GoldenEye.
Perfect Dark is better than GoldenEye.
It is,
That's
but
the
it's the nostalgia. It's like everything
I
is
get it.
better
I understand that.
on Super NES Classic than Star Fox 2 as well, but you love having it on that machine because it's a game you've never played before.
Yeah.
What do you think? Any games to add?
Mario Party has to be on there.
Ooh, good.
You
good
need to
one.
have
One or two.
Two. I would say two.
I would say probably 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I Donkey Kong 64, I think for me is a huge platformer.
It's interesting because I don't think people were not hot on that game at the time. The people it's too much.
Yeah.
The collecting is just too much now. It's overboard.
It was popular at the time. People liked it. But then I think in hindsight, they said, did I really need to collect 100 pink bananas on top of 100 blue bananas on top of 100 yellow bananas?
Yeah.
I mean, it had the world record for a long time for most collectibles in the game.
It was too much, yeah.
Yeah.
But you still, you like that.
Oh,
it's a completion.
Yeah, those like Banjo-Kazooie, Mario 64, like those are my jam. Those are my games. So I have to. I love the DK rap. It's great.
Is it true your favorite game of all time is Donkey Kong Country 2?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why when I saw the SNES Classic, I knew that DKC 1 would be there, but definitely not 2.
Yeah.
I think 2 is
I wish that they had put 2 on this collection for sure.
yeah.
But I love the approach of taking kind of like a game that is representative of a genre or of a series. But it would be nicer if they picked the best one in the series.
I mean, I think especially for the US release of the SNES Classic, I think it's silly that Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island are on it. Not that those both aren't fantastic games, but the fact that those two are on, but not Donkey Kong 1 and 2, because I feel like Donkey Kong 2 is arguably a better game.
Oh, absolutely. Musically, graphically, gameplay wise, it's a much better game.
We digress.
What about Diddy Kong Racing?
Diddy Kong
Oh,
Racing could
yes.
be on
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
I'm down for that.
But do you have that and Mario Kart?
Yeah, they're very different.
Oh, they're very, very
Yeah.
different.
One has airplanes.
And hoverboats.
And
I feel like Diddy Kong is like a party kart almost, whereas like
Yeah.
Mario Kart is
There's
more
like a weird
traditional
adventure
kart.
mode. and
Serious.
stuff
Yeah,
like
it
that.
has that overworld with the adventure mode. How do you feel about?
I'm sorry. The first console Mario Golf was on N64. It was awesome.
Yeah,
That would have to be on.
yeah.
That would have to be on there.
was this Camelot? There was also tennis and stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Mario
They
Tennis.
made
Mario
really good
Tennis.
games.
Yeah.
And then how do you feel about third parties like a Turok or something? Like, do they hold up, or can you not go back to them?
Man, the last time I saw Turok, the original, was for some N64 feature we did a couple years ago. Ooh, that game looks bad.
It runs smoothly, but you
does
can't
run
see
smoothly, but you
anything.
can't see-
And
it's
then
just
Turok
fog
2
everywhere.
does not run smoothly, but it
You can
looks
see-
pretty
yeah, it's
good.
clear.
Still.
Yeah.
The weapons are just so cool in those games. They just feel so right. And like
Cerebral Bore was 2, right?
two, that's disgusting. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
that's
awesome
the one.
too.
Yeah.
What about is it Star Wars Shadow of the Empire? Or
Shadow of the Empire was
yeah,
on. Yeah.
that
was
one was
Rogue
like
Squadron too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
Rogue
original Rogue Squadron was really great.
I would put Rogue Squadron on there, but you're not going to get that licensing job done.
Yeah. Here's a weird one. Space Station Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that's not a weird one at all. That's
Yeah.
great.
I love Space Station Silicon
Yeah.
Valley.
game,
Yeah.
yeah.
Rockstar.
So I think was
Well, DMA.
Well, DMA, but yeah.
I think it was actually Barrett who played Body Harvest for a feature, right? Like
He
you guys
played-
made him play Body Harvest.
I made him play Body Harvest and Space Station Silicon Valley for a Grand Theft Auto feature.
So
yeah.
it was developed by then DMA Games, who are
DMA
Rockstar,
Design, yeah.
right? DMA Design, that's right.
Yeah.
And Body Harvest and Space Station Silicon Valley have a lot of those GTA elements of like, taking over cars and vehicles or creatures.
Yeah,
in
it's
Silicon
pretty
Valley.
funny because like to look at it now, especially Body Harvest in comparison to GTA, like you can run up alongside these like Jeeps and the character does like a full front flip into the Jeep
Yeah.
and then you can take off and drive, and like that's really interesting to think about.
They didn't want to animate it.
Yeah, in like 5 years you'd be playing GTA 3 where, you can just get in any vehicle and drive it away. Like, yeah.
But you probably wouldn't put Body Harvest on that.
No, hell no, that
Yeah,
game's
and
not
like
good.
all the Duke Nukem 0 Hours and any of those games that just don't.
You don't want to play Earthworm Jim 3 on the N64?
Yeah, or Castlevania 64.
What about
probably
this?
no.
Not Castlevania 64, but what about this? Tony Hawk 2.
Yeah, that's actually probably one of the best games on the N64 from the third party realm. But it's not synonymous with the device. Neither is Resident Evil, for example.
No, Resident
right?
Evil 2. They
Yeah.
managed to cram. What was it that they left out on the cart? The FMV was there,
It's just really
but
compressed.
that's what it was. Yeah,
It's-
I thought maybe there was no voice acting in Resident Evil 2.
No, they have it. It's just
It was there,
very-
but it was very,
very,
very.
very compressed, very
Yeah.
tinny.
I remember
Yeah.
was they
It
brought
wasn't very good to begin with, so it's fine.
they brought in Factor 5, the Rogue Squadron team, to help with the audio compression and some video compression.
Yeah.
I don't think we mentioned Majora's Mask.
We did.
We
but
did.
yeah, he was.
So it depends. If you're telling me I can only put 20 games on there, and then you're asking me to include like all of the best third-party and first-party games, I think you got to cut somewhere. And I would say you put one game representative of every franchise. And yeah, you put Star Fox 64 on there instead of Majora's Mask, even though Majora's Mask is so much better.
Sure, but the NES Classic had the original Zelda and Link's Adventure. I mean, I think there's room for
Because they're not similar at all.
Well,
I mean,
that's
they're
true.
so different.
Well, I think that the difference between the SNES and NES and the theoretical N64 is that really with the N64, they really shined with their first party stuff.
Yeah.
There was a lot of third party slog that I just don't think would ever appear on the N64.
You could probably make an N64 Mini using only
Nintendo
first-party
games. Yeah.
yeah.
That's probably going to happen.
It's probably not going to be 20 games. I guarantee it'll be maybe 10 to 15 tops.
And remember, the N64 was the machine where they lost Square.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And, they
Final
lost
Fantasy
Take
they
a look-
lost Enix after a while. They had Mischief Makers, but then nothing, it just kind of everything dried up. Capcom, took a while to come back to the machine. And
Scour the internet and take a look at the Final Fantasy VI demo for N64.
so good.
And tell me that
Those
if you were
blocky
Square and you
characters.
saw that, you wouldn't be like, I think we're gonna go over here. Yeah.
I'm curious. So, I'm curious. Technically, do you think it's actually feasible an N64 Mini?
Yeah.
Like they can make it small, they can make it cheap.
I
and
think
put
the
a bunch of
hardest
games on it.
I think the hardest part would be the controller.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do they build a controller with rumble and memory capacity built like all in one? Like,
Does it come with 4? Does it come with 2?
four controllers?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, memory and storage and rumble and controller, all that stuff is more expensive. So it probably they wouldn't be able to pull it off like this. Either they go and just have 10 games, or they charge more. I think. But come on, somebody made an Ouya too. And that doesn't.
nobody
that
bought
was,
that.
but that wasn't that expensive. Like, and that hardware had a lot in it. It had, it had Bluetooth technology and Wi-Fi and all that stuff, which is not in these machines.
Sounds like we're gonna get another Ouya next year in this new Atari box.
Yeah,
Yeah, it sure does.
Atari
That's a
Ouya.
Linux box.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Very interesting.
Very
well.
bizarre.
Let's hope
Yeah.
this N64 Classic comes to pass.
Yeah, I hope it does.
That's all the time we have this week. It felt way too short. I think you are going to get ambushed by Mike, who does some of our vlogs, our behind the scenes content. So if you want to see more of Jirard, be sure to look for that.
Awesome.
It posts a day after NVC usually on Saturdays or Sundays. So look for that as well. But yeah, that's the show for this week. I'm dreading next week when another 12 new games will come out. This show is going to be 2 hours
dreading
before
or
long.
celebrating.
Dreading and celebrating, but now we have some really good games to play in the gap. So even if they don't release anything next week, I'd be happy with the Switch lineup.
Yeah.
At the very least, you've got this.
I got that.
Yeah, I have been
hugging
neglecting
it.
any sort of new game this week, just playing Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island. So
Awesome. When people are not watching NVC, where can they find you, gentlemen?
I'm on Twitter, Dame0.
And
Don't
you also
you-
host a couple of shows for
yeah, I
us,
was gonna
right?
say,
I
don't
host
you-
a video game podcast called Game Scoop.
GameScoop, I've heard of that.
Yeah, that covers everything: Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft PC, Atari, all of it.
What did you-
TurboGrafx.
What did you talk about this week?
It's the latest update on Game of the Year Watch.
Oh, okay.
We do this every quarter, and now we have new stuff to add, like Shadow of War, Forza 7, Pyre, Divinity Original Sin 2. So we stack them up against all the other great games of the year, like Zelda, Horizon. All that.
I was going to say, is Breath of the Wild still up there, or are people starting to forget now that we're moving farther away?
No, it's
Can't forget
you
Breath
do not
of the
forget
Wild.
Breath of the Wild.
All
It's
right.
still my personal favorite game of the year. It's the only 10 IGN has given this year.
Okay, very cool. How about you?
Yeah, you. Do you want to sign out?
Do you have a channel, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do. I do a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find me on youtube.com/thatonevideogamer, or you can just go to YouTube and search The Completionist. You'll see my bearded face all over the place.
Great. Any expansions? When's your Snapchat channel launching or anything? No? Nothing?
What's the next game you're going to complete?
The next game is Stick of Truth.
Nice.
To celebrate Fractured
release
Butthole coming out next week.
So that's a game I'd love to see ported to the Switch for
Yeah,
sure.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. What about you, Zachariah?
I'm on Twitter at ZachariasD, and you can catch me every week right here on Nintendo Voice Chat.
That's right. And I'm Per Schneider, and you can find me on Twitter at PerIGN. And you can also find me on NVC next Friday. Be sure to tune in, subscribe, and leave a nice message. We're out.
Get the thing.
That's my line.